Yo, the enemy's public, I gotta keep my eyes open. Pay attention, stop walking around like you blindfolded. This not the World Cup, but Nasir be kicking knowledge. This is the type of information you can never learn in college. It's time to fight back, it's no more trying to play it cool. We got interviews, podcasts, and got the latest news. So sit back and relax, we about to get it started. Earth is a canvas, and guess who's the con artist? They brainwashing us, the system corrupted. You are now rocking with the enemy's public. You are now rocking with the enemy's public. I said you are now rocking with the enemy's public. Hey.
Peace. This is the enemy's public. And I am Bro.Nasir. This evening, family, I want to speak about what are agents, who are agents. We need real answers in scholarship. We don't need no hearsay. We need people's own research instead of regurgitating what someone else has said or what they heard. Peace to my brother Realize. Thanks for coming through, my brother. And I want to challenge anyone who would come up and present to the listening audience what are agents and who are agents. I don't want to hear what they heard someone else said, because I'm going to be able to tell you through my research if you are being a bobblehead and regurgitating what you heard somebody else say. But before I do that, I want to break down a little bit briefly. What are agents? Agents are informants, okay? And they infiltrate our organizations. A lot of times, they are police officers who look like us. Like, for instance, the FBI, the CIA, especially CIA operatives, they get sent into our communities to infiltrate our organizations. A lot of our organizations that are now known as gangs today were made that by CIA operatives that look like us. There are 4 types of informants: member of the public, a victim of a crime, a member of an organized group / criminal group. And the reason why most case scenario, the groups or organized criminal groups, is because when this wicked government see us doing something that's beneficial to us and our people, they will send agents in to corrupt our organizations. And most of all, it's police officers themselves who are agents. Now, can you tell if someone is an agent? Law enforcement say no, because the identity of informants are not public record. If CIs were public, if they was on public record, it would put their lives in danger and the loved ones of the agent in danger. However, the identity of a confidential informant will be revealed to a defendant if the defendant goes to trial. Now, I hear a lot of people talk about this person is an agent or that person is an agent, and this person is not living too good. Agents get paid. Now, how much do feds pay informants? I'm going to give 4 examples. I'll give 3 examples. In California, yearly, a federal confidential informant makes $76,019, $6,334 a month. In New Jersey, they make $86,517, more than California, $7,209 a month. In New York, an agent of a confidential informant makes $83,698, $6,974 a month. It's the same as the boule. You must be in a certain tax bracket to be boule. There are no poor people in boule. Our people need to understand that, those of us who walk around calling people agents. Is a CI, a confidential informant, a snitch? The term is usually used within the law enforcement world, where informants are officially known as confidential human sources or criminal informants. It is also referred pejoratively to someone who supplies information without consent of the involved parties. William O'Neill was an American informant in Chicago, where he infiltrated the local Black Panther Party. He was the catalyst of the 1969 police FBI assassination of our brother Fred Hampton, head of the Illinois Black Panther Party. Peace to my brother, Brown's Flat Power God. Now, William O'Neill was born and grew up in Chicago and had gotten in trouble with law enforcement as a teenager. When he was about 18, he was caught by FBI agent Roy Martin Mitchell, who had tracked O'Neill down for stealing a car and driving across state line to Michigan. In 1968, the FBI offered O'Neill a deal in exchange for having his felony charges dropped and receiving a monthly stipend. Now, instead of William O'Neill paying for the crime he committed, he took a stipend to be a paid informant to infiltrate the Black Panther Party for self-defense. Now, O'Neill agreed to infiltrate the Black Panther Party for self-defense as a COINTEL operative, or you can call him an informant. O'Neill had risen to official capacity after gaining the trust of Fred Hampton, who was only 20 years old at the time. O'Neill was assigned as one of the Black Panther Party's leader of security and had keys to several headquarters and safe houses. On the evening of December 3rd, 1969, Fred Hampton taught a political education class at a local church. It was attended by most Panther members of that chapter. Afterwards, he and several Panther members went to his apartment, and around midnight, they ate dinner prepared by O'Neill. Just imagine, this guy prepared a meal for Fred Hampton and the other Panther Party members. Now, William O'Neill slipped something into Fred Hampton's drink so he would not wake up during the police raid. O'Neill left about 1:30. Fred Hampton fell asleep talking to his mother on the phone. At about 4 o'clock in the morning, Chicago police arrived at Fred Hampton's apartment, and about 4:45, they stormed the house. O'Neill had given the FBI a drawing and a layout of Fred Hampton's apartment and where Fred Hampton would be sleeping. Now, just imagine that. He gave a drawing to the Chicago police and the FBI so they can know where our brother was sleeping so they can assassinate him. Over 90 shots was fired. They killed some Panther members, but they shot Fred Hampton a lot of times, and they shot a lot of people. Over 90 shots was fired in that apartment. And not only that, the FBI and the Chicago police lost the lawsuit. They lost the lawsuit when it was a not class action lawsuit. It was a civil suit against the police of Chicago and the FBI, and they lost. And they had to pay Fred Hampton's family. Now, I want to get to what an agent is. See, a lot of us talk about, they'll say Dr. Martin Luther King was an agent. They'll say Huey P. Newton was an agent. They'll say, Bobby Seale or, all these brothers that stood and acted on our behalf was agents. They don't know when they on these YouTube channels running their mouth like that, they are displaying agent-like behavior themselves. Because I was taught at an early age, when I was getting into activism, standing and acting on behalf of our people, that an agent is someone who caused confusion among our people, cause our people to be suspicious of each other, cause dissension in the ranks, cause distrust of each other. A brother or sister who suggests that we do something illegal to cause harm to someone who hasn't done anything to us, we got to watch those type of people. Now, a lot of us say some of our leaders are agents. Now, I want anybody who will come up. I'm gonna put the link in the chat. If you say somebody's an agent, I want you to say they're an agent, and I want you to prove it. I don't want you giving me somebody else's answers or somebody else's scholarship. I need you to work the problem out on the board to see how you have arrived at that answer. Because I'm tired of hearing people saying somebody's an agent because they heard somebody else say somebody's a damn agent. But nobody is working the problem out on the board telling me why this brother or sister's an agent, while they're on YouTube displaying agent-like behavior. Because anybody who will cause suspicion to us and cause dissension to us and cause us to be suspicious of each other, we got to watch that person. We got to watch them. Because just imagine, you got some brothers across town that say they want the same thing that we want. And you got a brother who say or suggest to us that we go across town and we confront them, whether it's verbally or violently. And it makes no sense. He's not saying that we should unite with them. He's saying we should confront them, and we should chase them off and drive them off. That's an agent, and it's agent-like behavior. Because if those brothers want the same thing we want for our people, we should be uniting with them. We shouldn't be trying to start a confrontation with them. Now, I've been doing this a long time, not speaking on YouTube, out in the streets. And I know an agent when I hear it. Now, when I'm done, I'm going to play footage of an agent. And it's going to be a series. I'm going to play footage of an agent. Now, William O'Neill was an agent. I'm going to play footage of just people who infiltrated our organizations. I'm going to do my research. And these people are admitting that they were agents. It's not hearsay. It's not that I went to somebody's YouTube channel and they was running their mouth, not knowing what they're talking about, saying somebody's a damn agent. And our problem is we go and we look for something incriminating, whether it's the truth or not. We look for something incriminating to say about one of ours. That needs to stop, because a lot of brothers are just sitting on their ass, running their mouth, and not doing nothing to change the condition of our people. But they got a lot to say about those who attempted to. Now I'm gonna go back to the 60s. Now people spoke about Dr. King all week, and little do they know, Dr. King was a trailblazer. You say what you want about Dr. King, but one thing you can't say, that he was a punk. And he did something that most of these Negroes wouldn't do. Most of them. There's no way some of these Negroes who run their mouth and talk tough going to go to imminent danger. None of them. But they'll run their mouth like they'll do it. Dr. King went to Memphis for the Poor People's Campaign. The first time, he was met with violence. People throwing bricks, people throwing all kinds of stuff at him, dogs, water hoses. He went back and stood on the damn balcony and was assassinated. 1963, Dr. King was not 1966 to 68, Dr. King. 1966 to 68, Dr. King was a totally different man. The definition of an agent is somebody, I'm not reading, I'm speaking verbatim. Definition of an agent is somebody who draws suspicion towards us for no reason. Somebody who's saying this person's an agent, or drawing suspicion by lying. By lying, cause distrust among each other. Peace to my good brother Smoke Signal. Cause distrust in the ranks. Always has something to say about somebody that's not true and is unsubstantiated. That needs to stop. I'm tired of hearing somebody say somebody's an agent, blurting it out, but don't have no substantiated evidence that this brother or sister is an agent. We need to start working the problem out on the board, because if you can't work the problem out on the board, chances are you are copying. I remember going to school. If you give the teacher your test with all the correct answers, she's going to give it back to you, because she wants to see how you arrived at your answers. She wants to see your work. And that's what we need to start doing. Because a lot of us are doing what we call regurgitating what they heard somebody else say. And what we're doing is just agreeing with somebody, and we passing off unsubstantiated false information. And just because you can go on social media, you can go to the World Wide Web, or you can go to the internet and you can type something up, that what you're reading is apparent. Doesn't mean it's truth. It's just apparent. And don't you think, I would think that our people are more intelligent to know that they know that we're looking, and they'll plant something for us to find. And I agree with my brother Smoke Signal. He's always on point as far as I'm concerned. We are not organized enough to accuse anyone of having an agenda. We need to understand, what is our agenda when we do that? Our problem is that's why we don't move forward. It's one step forward, two steps back. That means there's no damn progress. And we're always pointing the finger at the next brother or sister. And when people call people agents and people call people boule, There's a certain tax bracket you have to be in to be boule. There's no poor boule because agents get paid. There's no agent that go out here and do that for free. They get a stipend. I read the stipend. These people get paid thousands of dollars a month to snitch. When I'm done, I'm going to play footage of an agent, an admitted agent. That's what an agent is. If somebody who infiltrate our organizations to destroy them, to neutralize them. People that causes confusion, distrust, suspicion towards each other. That's an agent. No matter who we name, it's sickening. No matter who we name, somebody got something bad to say about the brother or the sister, no matter who we name. They'll just say it, and then they'll say some unsubstantiated nonsense as their proof. And don't be proving nothing. Just blurting it out. Because you believe that, it doesn't make it truth. It only means you believe it. Because first, when you can match the work of these brothers and sisters, then you can talk. If you can do a third of what they're doing, half of what they're doing, then you can talk. But if you're doing nothing, and if you can point out what somebody's not doing, why aren't you doing it? Maybe that person don't know that needs to be done. You can point it out, but you're sitting on your ass and not doing it. You're supposed to cover down. If you are a soldier in this war, a soldier covers down. If you know general orders, wherever the next soldier's not doing, you're supposed to cover that. Not point out that the soldier's not doing it. That's punk shit. We got a lot of whiners talking about what somebody didn't do when you're doing nothing. I never discredit and disrespect people who came before me and my elders. Why? Because I'm becoming one. I don't want to do nothing and then all of a sudden somebody come down 15, 20 minutes later and say that I ain't shit after all I did. People need to be mindful. And we got a whole lot of intellectually lazy ass niggas saying they're not teachers, but constantly blurting stuff out. But when you question them, they don't want no accountability, so they say they're not a teacher. That bullshit gonna stop too. Stop running your mouth then, saying stuff and trying to teach somebody on the slide. If you're not a teacher, that means you're a student. You can't be in between. It's all about accountability. Being accountable for what you say and what you do. I'm tired of hearing niggas say somebody's an agent and that's all they say. Or they'll say something that I heard a million times, but people say they don't regurgitate. Niggas love drinking vomit and spitting it out. Just imagine if it's said that many times, you're drinking vomit and spitting it out. If people know what regurgitate means, you can't hold it so it comes back up. I sit and I laugh sometimes on how ridiculous some of this foolishness sound. But I want somebody to come up here, name an agent, and prove to me that's an agent. I don't care who it is. Prove to me if there's an agent. I'll wait. I'll even do the program several times over, give people time to do their research. But make sure you're doing research. Re is the bind back to. And you know what search means. Don't just search and click on the first thing you see and start teaching that. That's not responsible. It's irresponsible scholarship. As a matter of fact, it's scholarship. When you click on the first thing you see and you start teaching that. But when you find that you are at error, you don't do no retraction. A person who wants to see things done right and exact would do a retraction when they find themselves at error. I'm going to play because I'm about fed up with Negro business. And speaking of Negro business, that's the problem with a lot of clergymen they had with Dr. King. I'm speaking about him because he was attacked all week. I'm going to defend him. Black clergymen turned their back on Dr. King because Dr. King went from civil rights to human rights. He went from saying that we should be nonviolent to saying that violence is necessary. I understand why white people will put Dr. King on their walls. A particular Dr. King. They're hypocrites no matter how you spin it. Because they love the I Have a Dream Dr. King. Not the mountaintop Dr. King. Dr. King went from having a dream to waking up and realized that he had integrated his people into a burning house. And speaking of that, Dr. King was 39 years old, just turned 39 years old that year, that January that he was murdered. We got a whole lot of 39-year-olds, 40 plus, 50 plus year old niggas and do shit with their life. Not outside of their household to take care of something. They may take care of their immediate family, all that. You get credit for that. But as far as his activism, doing something for the totality of our people, a lot of niggas ain't do nothing. Just imagine. Fred Hampton was 21 years old when he was assassinated. 21. You can't say shit about him. Dr. King was 39. I'm damn near 20 years older than 39. So was Malcolm. 39 years old when he was assassinated. And I'm damn near 20 years older than 39. And you got people saying something about these young men that was out there doing what they were doing when they were young men. Dr. King could have easily stayed in that church. Could have easily stayed in that church and collected tithes and lived lavish. He couldn't even get to where he was going. Singers, entertainers had to give him money to get to where he was going. Was not a rich man. Was not rich. So agents get paid. No agents, they don't be agents and not live pretty good. So all this person's an agent, we need to stop that because I'm gonna ask the question. It's self-explanatory. I'm gonna ask the question. Do we know what we're talking about when we talk? Do we know what we're talking about? Or are we just talking to sound intelligent? Do we know what we're talking about? We're going to find out. We're going to find out. Because I can admit that I don't know everything. But if I connect with Bronze Flat Power, God, Smoke Signal, Real Lives, and other brothers, collectively, perhaps we'll know it all. But you gotta watch that person who think they run it all, they know it all. Why? He has the David Ruffin syndrome. He has the Bobby Brown syndrome, the Smokey Robinson syndrome. Okay? He wants to be the standout amongst us. He don't want to be in the group. He wants to be the standout, or she wants to be the standout. We don't need those type of Negroes around us. None of us. We don't need those type of Negroes. We need to drive them from among us. And if you believe in teach one, you would think of the totality of our people, which is more important than anything. All this agent talk, this person's boule, this person sold out. And a lot of us have our enemy sentiment. We have our enemy sentiment. The only good nigga is a dead nigga. That's the sentiment we have about our own. The only good nigga is a dead nigga. So you're telling me that if a brother or a sister didn't get assassinated, they automatically make them a sellout? You give, I mean, that is actually worshiping the government. That's government white worshiping. And you're right again, brother Smoke Signal. They just be talking, but they won't answer a question. Will not answer a question. They get offended when you ask them to work the problem out on the board. But it's fair because just imagine if you're speaking to a younger person or a person your age who just don't know, and they ask you how you arrived at that answer, at that conclusion, you can't get upset. You have to be able to explain it to that brother or sister. Peace to the brother. Realize, how you doing, brother?
Hey, peace, brother.
If
I just wanted to come up just for a second, just short. I hear what you're saying, and what my take on it is that if we don't understand who we are, and understand that we need to be better, personally, I don't I don't think there is no answer for what we're going through.
I agree, we need to be better. We need to do better, and we need to treat each other better. And I always say, I don't understand how many times do I have to say that and point out that you will see Caucasians and other people, no matter how wicked their so-called forefather predecessors are, they still revere them, knowing they're wicked. And ours have meager, sometimes personal indiscretions, and they did the best with the knowledge that they had. And you have
Can I?
and you
I'm
have
sorry, my
us
bad.
we just totally throw ours away. We throw hours away for making little small indiscretions or little small mistakes. And when
You're
they
right.
did the best with the knowledge that they had, we still throw them away. We call them
Can I
out
ask
their
you a question,
name.
my brother?
Yes, sir. Indeed.
See, my thing is that a lot of us we revere God, we revere religion. My question is, why don't we revere each other the way we do with religion? When someone gave us religion, but nobody gave you yourself. You are you. I am you. I am me. You are my reflection. So if I revered you as much as I do the fake religion that someone gave me, then maybe, just maybe, we could be stronger.
Brother, again, I agree with you. And that's a very good question. I speak of God, but I don't speak of no spooky God. The reason why we don't do that, reason why we don't see each other as that, is because God was put outside of us instead of inside of us. When we see each other, saying all of us, revering each other and taking care of the business. Me, I say, if you want to see God, take a look in the mirror, you know, and it's
Man,
not,
say that shit again. Hold on. No, 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 no. You can't skip past that. Say that shit again.
if you want to see God, take a look in the mirror.
You damn right. Look,
Take a look
y'all,
in the mirror.
listen. And bro, I'm not trying to take over your channel or whatever, but what you just said, when you said if you want to, cause see, this is my thing, right? Uh, I I always want to tell people, yo, look.
You looking for God, you looking for him in religion, you looking for him in your people. Everybody searching for God when you don't know it's you.
Exactly.
You gotta look within yourself, and once you
Exactly.
find God, then you can be God, because God already told you that you are God. Oh my God.
You're the guy that you're looking for. See, the thing is, they have us looking for somebody, thinking somebody benevolent is going to come, fall out the sky, and save us. No, we have the necessary tools, mind, and functionality to save ourselves. You want to see God? Take a look in the mirror and stop waiting for
Everything
somebody
about
to
you
come.
is God. Look. Okay, so is it possible that you can bring forth life? Yeah, it's possible, right? Um, is it possible for a woman to bring forth life? That's the only way life get grown, So yeah, that's got. So why are we sitting up arguing with each other as if we're not gods? You know what I'm saying? Like everybody want to see. My problem is, it's like people be like, "Stop saying that you're God. What the fuck am I? If I'm not made in my Father's image, then what the? I mean, I'm talking about your book. I ain't even talking about what I think or my own understanding of what God is or who God is. God in your own religion, in your own book, said that you are God. So why won't you allow me to call you God without cussing me out?
See, I mean, I don't subscribe. I don't subscribe to, like, that sanctified religion type stuff. I don't
Neither
do
do
that.
I, G.
I don't
Neither do I,
subscribe
G.
to that, but I subscribe to making moves. You have to make the moves.
Okay, so can we talk about that? You know what I'm saying? Because that's something that I agree with. You know what I'm saying? That's something that um my spirit can you know, get with. You know what I'm saying? And what I believe, and it's just my personal opinion. I think we need to start praising each other like we praise this quote unquote God. I believe if we praise each other like the gods and goddesses that we are, I believe we will vibrate at a higher frequency than we have ever done before.
I agree with that, brother. See, others do it. Others do it, and that's why they're in the condition they're in. We don't. When we look at each other, you know what we see? We see ourselves, and guess what? We hate ourselves.
You
We
see
see
your
our
reflection, but why do you hate your reflection though? You know what I'm saying?
it's
Because
exactly,
when
it's
I look at
self-hate.
you, you me, right? I am
Ex-
you, you are me, I am that I
Exactly.
am, right?
Exactly.
I am everything, and everything is me because I'm God. I'm not saying that I am God, but damn it, I am God. All right. So if I'm you and you're me, if I understand you better, then that tells me right there that that's my brother, that's my sister, and ain't nobody can take that away from me. We have to stand up for one another. We have to uh, love on one another enough to where we can stand up and be and be in this space where when a motherfucker come after us and say, "No, you're wrong. No, bitch, you're wrong. Shut up, because I got 100,000 motherfuckers over here with me and say I'm right." And I
Hey,
think that we just need to be together.
exactly. Now, I asked a question. I asked it more than one time, and nobody could seem to answer my question. I said, if we can produce nobody but agents, boule, sellouts, and puppets, what does that say about us as a people? If that's all we can produce, because
Do you want to hear that? Do you want to hear?
no,
Because I mean, I could tell you.
let me finish real quick, and then I
Go
would
ahead.
love to
Go
hear you.
ahead,
I
G.
would love
You
to hear
got
your
it. You got
answer,
it.
because
You got it.
it seems to me no matter who we name, somebody got something bad to say about that brother or that sister. No matter who we name. Go ahead, good brother.
Well,
If
my understanding of what we're speaking of is that, man, look, we just don't care about each other, and I don't really believe that. I just believe that we've been taught to be that way. Um,
yes,
but at the same time, I believe that our our spirits are mixed up, and I just hope that we can come back, because what we're speaking of right now, man, it's something that it can be a beautiful thing, man. We just gotta understand each other, man. We don't give a shit about each other, and I think that's the problem. We don't give a fuck about each other, and that's the answer. We don't give a fuck about each other. That's
We
the
say we do. We say we do, good brother. We say we do all the time, though. But it's as if we
But do
don't.
we really mean it though? Do we really? Cause come on, man. Come
It's
on.
not in
I
our
can I can
actions.
say, but see, think about this though, right? If we start look, cause for me, personally, right, this is the type of brother that I am. I don't give a fuck about this internet shit. When I walk outside of my house, every time I leave my crib, bro, every time I see motherfuckers that look like me and sound like me, I love on them, whether they want it or not. And sometimes motherfuckers like, nigga, fuck, you know what I'm saying? But then I see them like 2, 3 days later, and they give me more love than I gave them the first time. So
That's good.
for me, man, it's not about this internet shit. When I walk out my house, man, I love on my people, man. I love my fucking people. And I'm just I'm tired of the bullshit. I'm tired of us acting like we holier than thou, or like
Yeah,
I'm better than you. Man, I ain't, man, what the fuck? I'm a regular ass nigga. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
indeed. I mean, if you see me, as some higher entity, that's your damn fault. Because I ain't that.
Exactly, exactly,
I'm not that.
exactly. Yep.
So if I make a mistake and I prove that I'm equal to you, just know that I'm equal to you.
Exactly.
That's it.
I mean, that's it. And see, you said it. You just said it. That's it. It's really that simple. I'm not bigger than them. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm laughing only because I don't want to cry, because I'm tired of us acting as if um we're better than each other, and we're not. We have to understand that this right here, this is the last stand that we have, and we have done it so many times to be great. I just want us to be great this time and be great together, and not step on each other. That's all.
It's the only way we're gonna be great, and that's together. Because a lot of us, like I said, got that David Ruffin syndrome. You want to be the standout. A lot of us have that, and it's not going to work. It's not going to work because, for one, our unity is more powerful than individuality. Because we're
Well,
stronger. We're stronger if we have the right in the same mindset.
hmm
We
but
have
you
to
gotta
have the same
understand too.
mindset.
You gotta understand too that we're not meant to blend in. We are the people who stick out like a sore motherfucking thumb. It's not because of our skin color. It's not because of none of that. It's because who the fuck you are. You
Yeah,
gonna stick out like a sore thumb because you. You feel what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
So
I
I
understand that. I understand that
right.
wholeheartedly.
You feel what I'm saying?
But I'm not
So
for.
I just I feel like we need to be together on that part, right? Because even though we all gonna stand out, I feel like if we just love on one another enough, because it takes a village to raise a child. I remember, I'm an 80s baby. I remember when
Okay,
I couldn't go nowhere in the neighborhood where I was not going to be checked. You feel what I'm saying?
indeed.
And I think we need to get back to that. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being for real, yo. Like, we have to
I
get back
agree.
to
I
a
agree,
village
bro.
raise a
I
child.
agree. I agree, but a lot of times not. That's not my sentiment. A lot of times that when you see somebody child cutting up and you check their child, a lot of times the parents get mad. They say you in their business, but no. If you were looking out for the better good of that child, you're supposed to be like, okay, thank you. I got it. I got it from here, And then, you know, because if your child out there cutting up after the food, they misrepresenting you. So you snatch. So if one of my boys snatched my child
Can
up,
I ask you something?
I'm not
Because
gonna say
I know
nothing
you.
bad about that.
I probably I'm gonna say that you're older than me as a man, and
I was
I
born in
remember when I was growing up, right? I remember when I was growing up. I remember my mom said she didn't say don't disrespect me or don't make me look bad in front of these motherfuckers. My mom said don't make me look bad. Do not disrespect me. Don't disrespect this family. Don't make this family look bad. This is
exactly,
your family. Don't make us look bad. And that's how I grew up. So, you know,
exactly. See,
it's not about no color. When it come down to that, it's like just don't make us look bad. You know what I'm saying? Do the best you can to make our family look like the best family in the hood, right? Um, and it wasn't about no white folks, right? My mom, she didn't say, "Don't make me look bad in front of these white folks." My mom was like, "Nigga,
you don't
don't
look
make
bad.
me look
Period.
bad." Period.
That's it.
Period. 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 I don't want to hear none of that shit. Do not make me look bad because I have to live amongst these people. And you know that was the thing that I respected the most about my mom is that um for us it was like just be the best person you can be and I think we should get back to that.
And I mean, we should. We should have never left that. But something I always ask that question also: what happened that we are the way we are? Everybody that stand and act on our behalf, we got something bad to say about them. It's just crazy to me. It just boggles my brain. No matter who we name, it's like somebody will come up and say, "Well, this person did this, and this person did that," and you know what? It's information that you know those who were against us put out. People don't know what agent like behavior is. When somebody causes
Hmm.
confusion,
Hmm.
you gotta look at them like an agent. Someone
That's
causes
facts.
dissension, you gotta look at that person like an agent. Always causing
Well,
dissension and facilitating
can
confusion
I?
and bullshit. You gotta look at them like an agent.
Well, your question as far as the title, um, I would say what an agent is and you said it in the title, so I'm gonna be honest to the title. Yo, an agent is someone who will argue you down without bringing anything to the table.
Yeah,
They just argue. They just want to fight.
being
You know,
argumentative
um,
for no
because they
reason.
don't have anything else to do. That's their whole thing is just to come and start trouble. Um, and anyone who is like that, anyone who just comes to bring trouble,
That's
I
an agent.
believe I believe that's an agent.
That's
And
an agent. Yes, it is.
I mean that's just what it is. I'm gonna say it. It is what it is. If you're not here to build, then you're here to break. And if you're here to break, then you're a fucking agent.
Exactly.
Period.
Build and destroy. If you're not here to build, you're here to destroy. And you're an
And you're
agent.
an agent if you're here to
You're an
destroy.
agent.
So that's all I gotta say. You got it, bro.
And if again, bro, you have you we it's you can have a lot of brothers and sisters on here building, then you would have somebody come. I can understand if somebody say something off the wall that's crazy, and then somebody come in and say, "Look, explain that to me," or that's incorrect. But I'm talking about someone who causes us to be suspicious of a person for absolutely no reason at all, or cause us to cause dissension, okay, against in our ranks. That's an agent. Always got something bad to say about somebody, and always have us looking at somebody like they're up to something. That's an
Can,
agent. You gotta watch that person because you gotta
hey,
question their motive. You gotta question their motive.
can I change the
subject just a little bit, just a little bit. If that's okay with you, my brother.
Just a little bit, because I want to stick to the subject, brother.
Okay. And I'm going to see this comes back to the subject, right? Um, I believe that um they didn't want us to grow our hair out, and just ride with me on this one because I've noticed that a lot of people don't want us to grow our hair out, and they didn't want us to grow our hair out because if we did, we would start looking like we would start looking like the same figures that is here in the Americas, and they like, yo, if they grow their hair out and they could see, damn it, that these motherfuckers, they real people. So when you start seeing braids, when you start seeing locks, when you start seeing fros, it looked like the old statues. It looks like the old stuff of pre colonization. You know what I'm saying? So um when it comes to our hair, um I want to say that I love seeing the sisters with the fros. I love seeing the sisters with the locks. You know what I'm saying? I love seeing the brothers with the fros and the braids, and I love that because
The naturals are cool, brother.
that's what. But we're getting back to that, right? But the thing is though, is that we're starting to see that motherfucker. Guess what? I look just like that nigga over there on that piece of stone.
Yeah,
I look just like him, you know.
and that's crazy too, brother. To bring that up too, because when we start wearing our hair, the way we want to wear it and stuff, and a lot of people despise that. They despise that. They want you to cut your locks. They want you to wear your hair in a like a sort of a European type way.
Because they know if they know
because,
if
because
you see your hair the
they know
way
who
it's
you are,
supposed to
but you
be,
don't know who you are.
you gonna see exactly who the fuck you are if you start growing your hair out and
That's
your
true.
antennas get the buzzing, right? Cause my antennas buzz like a motherfucker. My locks, my ether is very strong. So if I start to see other motherfuckers that was like 10,000 years old and they got the same ether I got, I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. See, I think that's why they wanted us to keep our hair cut and be all mannish, or nice, whatever, however you want to put it. They just they don't want your ether to grow because when you get your ether, I believe your hair is the most dangerous motherfucking weapon that we have, and you got it.
Yes, sir, brother. Good spill. Yeah, but sticking to the subject of who are agents and what are agents, you know, there's going to be a series. I'm going to come back because I have presentations I want to do also as an example of what an agent is and who are agents. I have examples of that. Yet when somebody come and they say somebody's an agent, we need real answers. We need real scholarship. We don't need no hearsay, meaning if you heard somebody else said that, you just saying it, that's hearsay. You need your own research. It's sort of like I always I'm gonna continue repeating, working the problem out on the board. Because if you arrived at an answer, you should know how you arrived at that answer. And if you didn't do research and you didn't come up with your own answer, chances are, not chances are, emphatically, you copied. That's it. You copied. You heard somebody else saying it. It resonated with you, and
Mm-hmm.
now you're saying it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So people need to do their own research because a lot of times, I don't know. Some of these, I question a lot of these brothers and sisters. I question their motives on why they're doing what they're doing. I question them
Okay. Okay.
because if everybody we name who stood and acted on our behalf as an agent, it says something about us And if every time we name somebody, somebody has something to say about them, and it's an origin of these so-called stories of what this brother or sister is and what makes them an agent. Nobody's saying what makes a person an agent. Is just that they disagree with the brother or sister, and
That's a fact.
and the only thing they can say is, "Oh, he's an agent." An agent of who? An agent of
But
who?
think about this. Think about this though. Okay, so when they come around, right? When they come around, and we say, well, that's an agent. That's an agent. That's an agent. What is the energy doing? Because the energy is shifting every time that a kink gets put into the system. It's just a uh how can I say this shit? There's a the energy's thrown off, you know?
I just
And
wouldn't want nobody to do that to me, and I wouldn't
exactly,
do that,
see what I'm saying?
and I wouldn't do that to nobody. If I
That's a
know
fact.
this
That's a
brother,
fact.
if I know this brother is a good brother and he's standing and acting on our behalf, if somebody say something bad about them, I'm going to defend the brother. I mean, I remember, defending Professor Griff because that's my brother. And I'm like, look, if Professor
You
Griff
going to
did,
bat.
if Professor Griff did that, I was there and I helped him. Now what?
So you on the bat. You going
If
to
he
bat for
did
your
that, I
brother.
helped.
Well, I mean,
I don't.
who can tell you it's wrong to go to bat for your brother?
Yeah, exactly. But
You know what I'm saying?
you got people who not doing anything. Now, if you gave out brother a loaf of bread, okay, you gave out a loaf of bread and four containers of orange juice. If you gave that out and I didn't give out nothing, I shouldn't be talking about you as far as giving. And people don't understand what charity is.
No, I got you. I got
People
you
don't
on that.
understand what charity is because just imagine, let's say if you are, say you got $10 million, okay? You got $10 million.
Let's say
You gave
you take a
you gave
$100 and you make some sandwiches.
no,
Let's say
listen
you
to
take a
what I'm
hundred
saying.
dollars and make some
Listen
sandwiches
to
and
what
just
I'm
hand
saying.
them out.
I'm about to
Go
break
ahead,
down
bro.
what charity is. Say, brother, realize have $10 million, 10 million, and he gave $1 million to charity. That's a lot of money, right? And let's say brother Nasir got $20, and I gave out $20 in charity. Guess who gave the most charity? I did
You already know. You already
because I
know.
gave
That's
all I
real
had.
shit.
I gave all
That's
I
real
had.
shit.
You still
You
got
damn
9 million
right.
left.
That's right. You
The
damn
one who gives all
motherfucking
they
right.
have is the most charity.
But who did he get that money to? See, the thing is, right, when you ain't got a lot, you want to make sure that your little tools and fuse is going towards what it's supposed to be going towards. When you got a lot of bread, you know, man, you
To
just
get
put it out there,
frivolous.
you say whatever. But I'm gonna tell you like this right now. When you spend, like I said, you spend $100, right? You make a whole bunch of sandwiches and you get a whole bunch of 25-cent bag of chips. And you just go out in the neighborhood for the motherfuckers who ain't got it, who hungry. You know what I'm saying? You give them sandwiches, give them chips. You feel me? It might not be nothing. It don't. That shit is nothing.
But
But
it's going to be
guess what?
appreciated.
It's something to them. It's something to them. It's something to God, which you are made in His or her image.
It's going to be appreciated.
I would mostly say her, but I would say it's made in your image, in God's image, yo. And you're doing a godly thing by just caring enough about your motherfucking brothers and sisters, you know. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
I feel you, but that would be appreciated.
It would. It would. It should be more appreciated than the rich motherfucker who just sent off $1 million to someone and they don't know what the fuck is going on with the money. If I just take that $100, it should be more appreciated, but it's not. And
But
I just that's what I'm saying, my brother, is that I want to be one of them people to help bring it back to where that shit matters. It matters that we care about each other, bro.
the one who gives all they have gave the most charity.
Absolutely.
That's the one who gave the most charity. But now, brother,
Absolutely.
I want to do my presentation because I don't plan to be
Go
on
ahead,
it.
brother. I don't want to disrespect you or step in your
But brother,
room. You
but
got it.
I do appreciate you coming up. It's always good talking with you, brother. You know, your conversation is always enlightening, and I appreciate you, brother. And I want to
You
give an example. I want to show an example of what an agent is before I end this
go ahead,
live
brother.
stream.
Go ahead, brother. You got it. Floor shit. It's all yours. This your shit.
I got an offer for a scholarship at Los Angeles City College, which I took advantage of, and I started going to Los Angeles City College and UCLA in Los Angeles. Coming out of LACC from the school one day, I was met again by the same special agent who said that he wanted to talk to me, and the offer was still good about me working for him. And again, I told him no, I was not interested. Then told me that I should be interested because they could help me with a problem that I had. And I told him I didn't have any problems that I knew of. He said, "Oh yes, you remember the possession of stolen?" I said, "Yeah, well that's summary probation, man. I just write a letter in every month." He said, "Oh no, that's not summary probation. It turned out it's a felony probation for 3 years, which means you have to report in every week."
To bring it down to a nutshell, what happened?
What happened was that as far as they were concerned, it was felony probation now. And if when you jump probation, that means they can put you in for the rest of the term of the probation, which came to about 2 years and 10 months.
And so they threatened you with that.
Yes, they did.
Why didn't you stand up to that?
I called the probation office in Sacramento first. They told me a warrant was out for my arrest.
Because he's a punk.
And
That's
I was
why.
going to jail.
Did you have any particular fear of jail?
Yes.
Sound like a bitch.
I don't like to be shut in. I have a very, very dark fear of being
You
shut.
look like a bitch. I'm sorry.
How would they have known this?
The only way they could have known that is from my psychological profile when I went into military intelligence, which they take on all people that work in military intelligence.
So you bent and you decided to go to work for them?
Yes.
How would you say that most of those who are doing the same thing that you did have gotten into that behavior? The same way you did, they were coerced?
Coerced, pressure. Some can take it for. I think some might do it for the pay, for the feeling of power. It's a natural syndrome for a powerless person, giving a pedestal where he can direct, or he can say, well, this man goes to jail or this man stays free. They get a feeling of security from it.
For the FBI, did you get an indoctrination or did you just start cold?
No, I got indoctrination. It started off with camera surveillance, camera surveillance, electronic techniques of surveillance, shadowing, the obtaining of of let's say letters, empty envelopes, um, instructions on how to go to somebody's garbage containers and pick out useful items. You'd be surprised at the things that they take out of a garbage can, by the way. I mean, anywhere from the leftover food from breakfast, just to know what this guy eats for breakfast, you know. When they become interested in a person or a group of people, they try to find out as much as they possibly can, psychologically and academically and social-wise. Who do they run with? Do they go to certain nightclubs? Does this one have a sex hang-up? Is the man impudent? You know, anything that can be used later on.
How long was this indoctrination process?
It lasts anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. What is the most sophisticated equipment that you use as far as eavesdropping is concerned?
The video setup, and also I work with the new, I think it's called parabolic reflectors for sound pickup. Very interesting piece of equipment.
How is that used?
Okay, it reminds you of a disc. Have you ever seen those radioscopes?
Yeah.
You know how they're a disc and then there is a
cone behind it.
Cone in the center, right?
Yeah.
Okay, these parabolic reflectors were just like that, except a smaller version, and you would point it in the direction of where you wanted to pick up the sound from.
And how far away can it pick up sound?
Oh, I think it was anywhere from the ones I use from 200 to 500 yards.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Distinct?
Distinct, very distinct. You could be in a building, like say we're here right now, okay? Okay, not the next building, but the building behind. Let's say it's a little bit taller. Okay, I could point that parabolic reflector from there to this window, and I could pick up. That's how good it was.
Through the window?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The window didn't have to be open. The window didn't have to be open at all.
How does one go about tailing a person? Describe that. Is there a particular art? You say you have to be taught that.
Well, there is a particular art to it, but you know, okay, let me state, number one, the easiest way is to get close to the person so you can run with them. You know, that's the best way. Okay, the second best way is the thing I've called trial and error observation, where you would go around and you would follow this guy, let's say, from a distance of anywhere from a half block to a block, as long as you can keep him in sight. And then you find out certain locales or certain places that this man goes to every day. Now, if you can get a set pattern of places that this man goes to every day, you got him down. You got him down. That's what they needed to know.
So after a couple of weeks, you were ready to go to work?
I wasn't ready, but I went to work, yeah.
Do you know if this indoctrination period is more sophisticated today?
Probably much more so sophisticated for the simple reason that they're probably more severe on them as far as rating is concerned. Simply because of all the disclosures that are being made against them. I think they're being very, very careful. And when they sink their hooks in, I think they're making sure that it is tight, airtight.
In your experience, did you ever see the FBI try to sway newspaper or media news?
Oh, hey, let me run this down to you. LA Times, man. I went over there and picked up press passes from certain people over there. Let me see. Some people that work for NBC
TV?
Yes, in Los Angeles, used to get press passes to the bureau and stuff. Fact is, we used to get some camera equipment from there.
So a lot of this news film was probably turned over to the FBI.
Oh, sure.
Was definitely turned over.
Oh, hey, they had a lot of reporters, and well, you know, it was that old game of one hand washes the other. Usually, an agent would prefer to meet the reporter on a one-on-one basis. You understand what I mean? Build a rapport with him. You know, go out to the press club, buy him a few drinks. You know, take him out to Hollywood Park. You know, for the races. You know, that kind of thing. Hey, Jim, you know, your paper's covering such and such, or your TV station's covering such and such. And yeah, I just like a little bit more information than I've been getting. I need it, you know. It would kind of help me, you know what I mean? A personal favor. And if you do something for me, maybe I can do something for you, you know, in the future. Like, you know, when we're about to break a case, you'll be the first to know, that kind of thing.
What kind of work did you end up doing as an undercover agent? Were you doing espionage work or informant work?
Informant work, and also what you would call illegal entries, selling of weapons, selling of explosives, arson.
You would sell weapons and explosives to these radical, so-called radical groups that you were joining.
Yes.
All right. Where did you operate?
I was given a cover name, Ed Riggs. With that, I was also given a birth certificate stating that both my parents were, a birth certificate and a record for a Robert Riggs and a Mary Riggs who were deceased.
And you lost all of your true identity?
Yes.
And you operated in California?
California.
What cities in California?
Los Angeles, Oakland, San Francisco, Berkeley, Sacramento, Chino, San Bernardino, Santa Cruz.
Any other states since California?
Yeah. Chicago, Chicago, New York. Made 2 trips to Washington, D.C. Also, I better put in Seattle, Washington. That's very important, too.
How does the FBI coordinate this information? You were one of a number of agents who were doing this. How did they correlate and coordinate this flow of information? How many agents, let's start with that, how many agents were working in a given city like LA in the late 60s?
Jesus, we're talking about a lot of people. Like I said before, in the state, I would say 700 to 1,000. And in Los Angeles, which was a large concentrated area of blacks, we're talking about anywhere from 300 to 400 people. San Francisco, probably the same thing. That's a large concentration of black people. Wherever there was a large concentration of blacks or a large concentration of minorities. Don't let me only say blacks, because we're talking about the Chicanos and we're talking about the Chinese, too.
But among every ethnic group, there were ethnic groups of that group who could be recruited by the FBI to infiltrate their own.
Right.
Just want to get a sense of how much money American taxpayers were laying out for this kind of exercise. What was your salary?
When I started with the Bureau, I was making, $200 a week plus expenses. When I left the Bureau, I was making close to about $800 a week, and also some expenses, too.
So it might run as high as $1,000 a week.
Yes. It's according to what assignments you were put on at the time.
And statewide, there were 750 agents.
700 to 1,000. It might have been more than 1,000. That's statewide. People are into a fantasy world when they believe that the Federal Bureau of Investigation finds out what it finds out through the method of scientific investigation, that the agents can just go out and they can plot a course and they can follow a man everywhere and they take notes and such. That's not the name of the game. The name of the game is find someone that is close to that man or can get close to that man or that group or whatever, and have him do the legwork.
So in other words, there obviously then would have to be more informants than agents.
Definitely.
What would the ratio be? 10 to 1?
I think every special agent usually has anywhere from 6 to 7 what I would call prime informants or agent provocateurs. And then also you have anywhere from 20 to 25 people per agent also that are not really what you would call the everyday informant or agent provocateur, meaning that that person is not on a steady payroll by the Bureau, but every once in a while they will go to that person for information.
What is your speculation on what recently happened in Miami? Would you suspect that there has been a number of agents or informants that have descended on Miami since that eruption?
Oh, definitely, definitely. And not only from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, too. You'll have people from military intelligence and the CIA, for the simple reason that they want to find out the CIA and the military intelligence people want to find out, is this anything connected with some kind of foreign agency? That's their prime objective. The Bureau wants to find out whether this was a organized type of mass movement that's going on. Are there leaders? Are there central people that started this? They want to find that out. Who was the one that was out there getting the group of people together and said, hey, let's go get this? They want to know that.
How would you tell a member of a community that they might be able to spot an informant? How is that possible? Can you spot one? Or what should one look for? Let's say someone in Liberty City.
Well, it's like this. Informants come in all sizes, colors, and attitudes. There is no definite way, unless you can get a hold of his telephone bill, and if you can connect the number with the Bureau office, then you got it. But
the fact that they're not working steady and yet are able to eat and get around doesn't mean anything.
Not so much in the black communities. That's one of the hard things, because there's such thing as hustling. And some people are known as good hustlers. So people don't tend to trip off of them. Hey, Blood, I don't know how Blood did it. Blood probably did. He robbed somebody, or hey, man, he's selling some weed or whatever,
Would it necessarily have to be a new face in the community?
No. The fact is they tend to shy away from that. What they try to do is get someone that's already situated. It's much easier. Much, much easier. If they have what they call a prime informant, one that has been trained, that knows how to get into the group. Say he's with another group and he's made a name for himself. Okay, and then there is a group that the Bureau is interested in. Well, what they would like for him to do then is use his rep from the other group to deal with it.
What do you base your conjecture or your statement that FBI operations and surveillance is more extensive today than it ever was? Why would there be? There doesn't seem to be the kind of organizations that existed in the 60s. Why would there be an even greater surveillance on the part of the government?
Well, you have to look at it from the standpoint that the Bureau looks at it. And to them, organization or no organization, as long as there's one or two people or a handful of people that still think in the molds of some of the groups in the 60s, then they will be watching them. You can believe it.
Then we moved into the area of budget, how the Bureau operates and manages its money.
The FBI has holdings in different companies. They have storefronts, businesses.
Wait a minute now. Why would they have holdings in companies, stock holdings in companies?
It's extra money.
Oh, you mean they get such a big budget and they may not use it in a particular year,
so they invest in the stock market. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. The Bureau could, if federal funding was cut off to the Bureau right now, it could still go at full budget, I guess, for the next 5, maybe 6 years.
Is it for this reason that the FBI has been able to stand up against many other government agencies?
You have to understand the person that started the Bureau and his background, J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar made an agency that was answering to nobody but J. Edgar. There hasn't been a president that would dare call the FBI out on the carpet. Why? Why? Number one, just like they do background or surveillance on us, I suspect they do it to quite a few people up there in the Capitol. Senators, presidents, vice presidents. Everybody's got a skeleton in his closet.
And on top of that, he's rendered the FBI financially independent.
Yes. The allotments for their budget has grown bigger and bigger with each year. While I was in the Bureau for 7 years, the budget grew bigger and bigger. It's the thing that the money's not spent are always sent back to the government. Okay, but if you notice, the Bureau never sends any money back. Never. It uses its total budget, which is almost unheard of, except for the CIA, and they do the same thing. I guess being super patriots, they always have to figure that someday maybe the government might become corrupt with communists and leftists and black and communists and minorities and whatever, and that the FBI would have to function on its own bravely by itself. So J. Edgar Hoover had the foresight to make sure that the FBI would have a little nest egg around so it could conquer these subversives,
And work west. What groups did you infiltrate in New York?
In New York, it was the Black Panther Party, Queens section.
How far into the organization did you get, and how'd you do it?
What I did was I was a member of the party already in the California area. All I did was travel up and say I was checking out the party in the Queens area. What happened was, though, I only stayed with that assignment for 2.5 days. We found out then that it was infiltrated heavily by the New York Police Department.
And there was no need for your services.
There was no need for my services.
Let's go back to the 60s. In the first interview, you touched on the fact that you were involved in some way in the robbery of arms from the armory, weapons from the armory.
Yes.
Give us the details and what just went down.
What happened was that the Black Liberation Army, was in need of weapons. This was relayed to my supervising agent.
By you?
By me. Okay. He said, well, why don't you go back to them and tell them that you have a plan to get some weapons?
What year was this incident?
Jesus, I don't really remember.
Okay.
All right. I don't really remember. It was early 70s. I know that. What happened was, well, I didn't live that far from the Compton Armory. It was right up the street. And what the plan was that I laid out to him, that on parade day, they only had one guard at the armory, and it would be very easily to go in there and get the weapons.
What role did the Bureau play in allowing you access or to facilitate access to rip off these arms?
Oh, they worked out the whole thing. They made sure that that there were no guards, except for, I think it was there one guard? I think there was one. No, there wasn't. There wasn't anybody, as a matter of fact. That was the thing that kind of made me nervous about the whole thing, because I said, damn, you're supposed to have, it looks kind of phony when you go to an armory on a military base that's located near the Compton Watt area, and there's no guard in there with the weapons.
This is by day or by night?
This happened during the day.
What time of day? Morning?
No, it was late afternoon.
So what happened? You went into the armory via, how did you get in?
What we did was...
How many?
It was 6 of us all together.
Okay.
And we cut there was a chain with a lock. We cut the chain, opened the gate, shimmied on in, got over to where the armory was, opened the door, nobody was there, took the weapons and split. But the thing about it was the firing pins were taken out of the 16, the firing pins were taken out of the 6 caliber machine guns. The grenade launchers, they were ready, no doubt. They were in 81. Nothing had been tampered with them. I couldn't understand that.
Why would the Bureau be interested in collaborating to allow the theft of these weapons, so that knowing that they were going to go to the SBA or the BLA?
Well, it's like this.
SLA, I'm sorry.
Well, you have to, there's a thing called a controlled situation. And what is meant by controlled situation is that you know who has what and what they intend to do with it. Then also you can also have someone or something where you can exert a little pressure to make sure that they do such and such a thing. They don't deviate. And the Bureau was very into controlled situations.
So in other words, when they got these weapons, they could then be goaded or lured into getting into some activity that would make them vulnerable.
Right.
In other words, set up.
Right.
At this juncture, Perry began talking about a man called Elmer Geronimo Pratt, who Perry says is serving time for a crime he couldn't have committed.
Going to allow a person like Elmer Pratt to sit up 9 years in jail for nothing. The man did nothing except that he was a leader in the Black Panther Party, and they wanted him out of the way.
They?
The Bureau.
So, what happened?
Well, there was a murder, right? The murder happened in Los Angeles. Elmer Pratt was in Oakland, okay? Elmer Pratt was under 24-hour surveillance, both physical and SE, electronic, okay? The Bureau, at any time after LAPD picked up Elmer Pratt, could have went down there and said, hey, look, you made a mistake. The guy was in Oakland, okay? They didn't. They sit back and let it happen because they wanted the man out of the way. It's sick. Here's a man that got a Bronze Star and a Silver Star. Pratt, right, Elmer Geronimo Pratt. So when he got out of the service, he joined the Black Panther Party because it was a cause that he thought was just and he thought was right. Possibly, and I'm not saying, don't let me paint him a saint, the man possibly did some things, but he did not commit a murder. You know? And let me tell you something about Elmer Pratt. And this is from personal observation. The man was honest, the man was upright, and his word was his bond. You know? And he wouldn't go around doing a jive-ass robbery on a damn tennis court and kill someone. That's just not Elmer Pratt. He was set up, he was railroaded from the get. I'm surprised they didn't try to kill him in prison. And I'll be surprised if they don't attempt to do it now. Because now people are starting to make waves. Finally, people are starting to realize, after the man's been in there 9 years, and oh, by the way, four years of that was in solitary confinement.
Was the Compton Armory the only instance where you supplied arms to liberation or black groups?
No. I supplied handguns, a few other things, quite a few people. The Community Freedom School, I gave them the ID, the money, and told them the store to go to purchase weapons, and what weapons to purchase.
Have you witnessed murder?
One. Fred Bennett.
Were there ties to the Bureau involved in this murder?
Well, let me put it to you like
Who's
this.
Fred Bennett?
Fred Bennett was a sort of low-ranking Panther Party member in Oakland. He was with the national headquarters. I found out later on that there was a great possibility, or that he might have been really a informant, but of a very low caliber.
Well, what happened? What did you see?
Well, I went up in a Jeep in the Santa Cruz Mountains with Jimmy Carr, Fred Bennett, and myself, and some white guy. Also, I would find out later on that the white guy was working for the Bureau also. Mosier, I think his name was.
What happened?
Anyway, we get up there to the mountain, and Bennett says, we got an informant here.
In the car?
In the car. And when he said that, the first name that clicked through my head was, excuse the expression, Jimmy Carr was not one to be trifling with. The brother had been in and out of prison all his life. For him to cut somebody's throat or to possibly physically beat them to death would have been no problem. He was a big, big brother. The only thing that I could think of, well, the man's hands was on the steering wheel. Let me try to take his head off, or he takes mine off. I was armed also. Then,
so what did you do?
I jumped, and I said, hey, what you talking about, man? And that's when he pulled his .357, and he said,
Carr?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He said, I'm talking about Freddie. And what I thought was going to happen, now when he stopped it, he took him out, he chastised him, right? Slapped him around a lot. And then he took him up the hill. What I thought he was going to do was, like beat the guy up severely, break a leg, arm, whatever, mess his head up a little taste, and then leave him out there. The next thing I know, me and Mosier, the white guy, we're standing by the Jeep, and we hear 3 shots go off. And then Carr comes down the hill, and he says, hey, you guys got to help me get rid of the body. And I'm thinking, oh, he killed him. That's, but the thing was also, I was saying, play it like it is, don't act like you're going to panic or anything, So we went back up the hill. The white boy was greatly agitated. I mean, he's scared. Excuse the expression. We went up there. He had almost actually decapitated the man. Have you ever seen a .357? Have you seen what he could do?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, his head was all, like off. And we got some brush, some wood, and got some gasoline for the Jeep, and Carr poured it over the body and threw a match, and he burned the body up. And when I got back, I called up my supervising agent immediately and told him exactly what happened. And do you know they did not do a damn thing?
No. Carr.
Nothing.
George Jackson was a member of the controversial Black Panther Party who was killed while he was in prison. Reports are that Jackson was trying to escape from prison when he was gunned down in the prison yard. Perry had some information about that.
As I recall, there was a good deal of public uproar about him being in the slums, and the chances were pretty good that he was going to get out because of this public pressure. If that's so, why would he be involved in such a sham attempt to break out of prison?
Okay, let me put it to you like this. I think that, you have to understand the psychology of prison per se itself. Every inmate fantasizes about breaking out. Let me put it to you like that. After you've been there a year or so, you're going to be thinking about, how can I get out of this place? The thing was, George Jackson thought that, and he probably thought correctly, that San Quentin officials under no circumstances were going to let that man walk away from that prison alive. appeal or no appeal, probation or no probation. There are so many ways you can set a person up in prison. It's not funny, you know. I mean, they want you, they'll get you.
So not only because he hated the prison, but because his life was in jeopardy there.
Oh yeah, more so than I think more so that his life was in jeopardy. I was called by a group of so-called radical left in California to witness some fireworks up in Santa Cruz mountain area. When I talk about fireworks, I'm talking about explosives.
Not 4th of July.
Yeah.
What happened when you went to witness this testing of fireworks?
I took a Portapack unit with me, a Quey. I videotaped the sequence of how they used the explosives, who was there, you know.
What kind of explosives were they actually?
They were, let me see, it was plastic explosives, and it was a solution somewhat like nitroglycerin or nitroglycerin. Very high explosive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what happened after that?
Okay,
Peace to the
found
family Sun Kids.
to Carr
Thank you for
and
coming
two of
through.
the other people there that this was supplying this to them. I went back with the videotape to the Bureau, and I was later to find out that also worked for the Bureau.
Mm-hmm.
Fact,
Now, what was the real purpose that this group was testing these fireworks? Did they tell you at the time?
for a possible escape of George Jackson.
Okay, so what happened?
What happened was that James Carr, who was better known as Jimmy Carr, who was like a second lieutenant to George Jackson, also was one of his former cellmates, was setting up a escape plan.
Right.
Okay. Now, the thing that is very confusing at this point to me is that through the information that I have and from the times that I spoke to Jimmy, they were setting up the works, but they hadn't put anything in motion. In other words, they had been slipping certain items into Mr. Jackson at present through different means. But the time wasn't right at the time that George Jackson supposedly made the attempt.
But at any rate, a plan then was for someone to slip this stuff into prison and get it to either Jimmy Carr or George Jackson to effect a breakout.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Jimmy Carr was on the outside at that time.
I'm sorry. Okay.
But it was slipped into George.
Okay.
It was slipped in.
Okay.
Because the St. Val's turned up after the so-called prison breakout. If you remember, the day of the George Jackson assassination, and that's what the hell it was, Vanetta Anderson supposedly went to visit George Jackson. I am saying Vanetta Anderson did not visit George Jackson. I am saying that guys, as a black woman who went to visit George Jackson. And I am saying also that Stephen Bingham, the attorney, was used by the way of handing the tape recorder to Stephen Bingham, to Bingham, to take in, because there was no gun in that tape recorder. That gun was already inside there with George Jackson.
But apparently then, not only had the nitro and stuff been slipped to Jackson, but also there was a plan. And what was that plan?
Well, the plan that we knew about, or let me say, the plan that I knew about personally was the plan where they were supposed to blow the east wall of the prison. Jackson, in turn, was supposed to have taken a chain, some long metal object, thrown it around the wires and grounded it. That's cutting out the power to the prison. And then escape off in the darkness with jeeps, with armed people that Carr knew.
But what actually did happen?
What actually did happen, okay, now this is only a hypothesis on my part.
Yeah.
But what I think, since the present authorities and the Bureau were well aware of what Jackson was planning to do, that they forced his hand. Also, I believe that one of the guards had the 9mm pistol.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way in hell that George Jackson could have got that 9mm pistol smuggled in, because that 9mm pistol was confiscated over a year ago from Landon Williams during a raid. Oakland Police Department had it in their possession. It went from the Oakland Police Department to the Bureau, and from the Bureau it disappeared up until the time Jackson supposedly had that snuck in, where, you know, he hid it in a wig or whatever they said he did, whatever lie they came up with.
So you're saying then that George Jackson was given these vials that were actually duds, and then he ran out thinking that it was nitro, threw it against the wall, ping, they didn't go off, and he was blown away.
Right. And the thing that backs that to the max is that the brother that went out with him also had 2 of the tubes. But the thing was, the prison authorities put them in a basket, and they took the tubes out into the center of the yard, and supposedly they stood back from a long distance and shot their weapons at it, breaking the tubes and the contents. You know, the contents all spilled out, and so there was no way to examine those. They did find 1 tube, and that was in George's cell. But no one's ever been able to get their hands on it due to some legal process brought down by the Attorney General's office in California.
What do you have to say about the church committee hearings? Do you feel that the church committee has revealed all the information that they've gathered?
No way. No way. No way.
What percentage would you say they've released of the material from a personal viewpoint?
Personal viewpoint, I'd say about 10%, if that. That's kind of stretching it, I believe.
When you went to Washington to testify, you took a lot of evidence with you.
Yes, I did.
Physical evidence.
Yes, I did.
They kept that evidence.
Yes, they did.
Where is it?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
It was never made public.
No, it wasn't.
Was it strong evidence?
It was very strong evidence. I mean, how strong can you get when you actually have the voice of the man speaking to you over the telephone, instructing you after you steal certain particular paperwork to burn that garage up? And he says his name. Yeah. I think that's very strong evidence.
Well, what do you make of their reticence in releasing this information?
Well, let me put it to you like this. I think the whole thing was a farce. I think it was a setup. When I went up there, I was interviewed by some people from the Justice Department, which was cool. But then also they had 2 agents from the Bureau that interviewed me for an hour concerning the information that they damn sure knew about. You know, I think church cooperated with the authorities to a great extent as far as holding back certain elements of things. You know, the Bureau has a good way of dealing with senators and congressmen. You know, when they try to release something on them, they say, "Hey, well, this file is still active, or this case is still actively going on, and if you release this pertinent information, then it will destroy the whole case." That kind of thing. So what is that called? There is a expression that they use for this. I'm trying to remember that expression. It's a little legal terminology in the interest of national security.
We've aired these interviews in the hope that we've provided information and food for thought. It's not our purpose to characterize Mr. Perry nor judge him. If you choose, however, to pass judgment on Darthard Perry, it might also be appropriate to question whether or not each of us bears some responsibility for having allowed things like this to occur and continue to this very day.
You know you're going to go to prison, don't you, sooner or later? Or do you think you might get away?
I don't think I'm going to prison. I really don't think I'm going to prison.
Are you in fear of your life?
Not particularly.
How can that be?
It's like this.
I mean, all the characters that you've been running with, and now you're turning and talking about them, naming names. Somebody's got to get warm. This interview, full face on camera, there's a good chance it's going to be seen nationwide.
Well, I take it like this. I've played the game this long. I'll play the game out. I think I have a little bit more going for me now than I had before. I think people are aware of the position that I was in and why I was in the position I was in. And I don't think the Bureau, under any circumstances, wants to put their hands on me. The fact is, I think they're going to be using most of their time denying that they've ever known me. The fact is, when this stuff, when I first came out with it, that was one of the things. We've never talked to him before. We don't know him. You know. Then later on, it was a thing. Well, yes, we know him, but he never worked for us. Then the third thing that came out was, well, yes, he worked for us, but he didn't work for us at the times he said he worked for us. I think they're more worried about people becoming aware of what's happening, more so than me.
In your career as an informer, you committed arson, you witnessed murder, you stole weapons and supplied them to certain groups under false pretenses. You procured information from people. That's an ugly mirror to hang up in front of your face, isn't it?
Definitely. But then also, if you're thinking about the part of them pressing charges against me behind those actions that I did, you have to also think in part that if they're going to press charges against me, then they have to press charges against them.
How much would you say you've earned in your career as an informer? Have you ever thought about it?
No, not really. I would say anywhere in the seven-year period, I'd say anywhere between $50,000-$60,000.
Oh, for a 7-year period?
Over a 7-year period.
It's not a lot of money.
It's not a lot of money, no. Per se, it really wasn't the money. It was the pressure. You'd be surprised at what a squeeze in the right place can do to a person. Because if you had told me when I got out of the service that I would work for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, I told you were out of your mind.
And you're saying to our audience today that there are many, many, many black people, brothers and sisters, who are caught in the same bind that you were in.
Or worse.
And are working for the government.
Oh, yeah.
Informing on our people.
Definitely. The thing that really irritates me about this whole situation is that, of course, I know what I've done. You know, I'm well aware of that. I don't need to be reminded of it. But I think that black people in general need to be reminded of it because it's happening every day, and it's happening in every city in this country. I doubt that there's a place between Alaska and California that is not happening to black people. But the thing that gets me is that black people are sitting back and they're saying, yeah, well, get him. Yeah, you can get me. Big deal. You haven't hurt them one iota. Fact is, you did them a favor, if you really want to get down to it. You did them an immense favor because you killed the cat that was pulling your coattail, and that's all they want anyway. You know, the thing is dealing directly with them. Use your lawmakers, your so-called prestigious community leaders to go out there and start questioning these people, letting them know that they're not going to allow this type of situation to happen anymore.
Are you saying then that too many black folks today are apathetic and laying back in the cup, that you don't see enough resentment to what has gone down?
Definitely, I'm saying that. If I was part of the madness and it makes me ill and it makes me angry, and I can go out here and do what I'm doing now, and these are the people that it was being done to, and they don't even give a damn, then hey man, what's happening? You know, you tell me, you let me know.
As far back as the 1920s, when he began as FBI director, Hoover had gone after persons like Marcus Garvey. Garvey's organization, the Universal Negro Improvement Association, had a membership numbering in the millions, and somehow Hoover found this threatening and worthy of surveillance and undermining attempts. Garvey's influence had been international and had drawn world attention to America's treatment of black people. Paul Robeson was another who was viewed by Hoover as an enemy. This reporter has personally examined thousands of FBI, CIA, and other U.S. government agency documents that were kept on Paul Robeson. Robeson, like Garvey, had an international audience at his command, and he used that platform to denounce racism in the United States.
Most important, however, were the questions raised by the State Department as to my political opinion. Here's a question of whether one who wants to sing and act can have, as a citizen, political opinion. And in attacking me, they suggested that when I was abroad, I spoke out against injustices to the Negro people in the United States. I certainly did. And the Supreme Court Justice just ruled, Judge Warren, in the segregation cases, that world opinion had a lot to do with that ruling, that our children, Negro children, can go to school like anybody else in the South. I'm very proud to have been a part of directing world opinion to precisely that condition. The second, that I fight for the independence of the colonial peoples of Africa. Bandung, the colored peoples of the world assembled, made it clear that nobody is going to tell them what to do. They're going to have the independence. I'm proud of that.
When the 60s came, many factions of the civil rights movement had developed the same international perspective.
Those of us living in the United States who see ourselves as, and who are in fact, you know, descendants of the Africans who were brought to this country, who were enslaved, and who were rebelling and revolting now against our oppressive condition. And we are concerned about Africa. We see Africa as our motherland, and we feel that we have a responsibility to speak with as much passion as any other African on this issue. The United States government says that change must come in South Africa through peaceful means. That same government has over 500,000 troops in Vietnam fighting not white people, but brown Vietnamese.
So it is small wonder that the civil rights movement was also subjected to heavy attack by Hoover. Billions of government dollars were spent in this direction. Many of these activities were not only unwarranted, but of questionable legality. The congressional hearings into the assassination of Dr. King bore this out. 2 FBI agents testified before a Senate committee chaired by Senator Frank Church.
I'm trying to find out what it was that impelled some part of the FBI to pursue Martin Luther King with such an obsession. And what I understood that answer to be is, first of all, it was not any suspicions of the commission of a federal crime. None of the literature showed up a single suggestion that Martin Luther King had committed or was about to commit a crime. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes, sir, but at this point, much of what was being done did involve challenges to local laws. And there is a very strong suggestion that King was seen as rallying the lawbreakers and would-be lawbreakers, albeit for a cause that sounded pure. I'm looking now in terms of, if we look at what might have gotten the Bureau started, and if we remember at the same time, he is extremely critical of the Bureau's own law enforcement efforts. We see throughout these documents and the New Left documents that it is taboo to criticize the Bureau and particularly the director.
Well, was he ever charged with fomenting violence? Did he ever participate in violence? Was it ever alleged that he was about to be violent?
That was the very opposite of his philosophy, Senator.
So that it was neither the fear of commission of a crime or the commission of violence? Was there any serious charge that he himself was a communist?
No such charge ever was made.
So that what was left then was a decision on the part of some persons or person within the FBI that he should nevertheless be pursued.
And replaced.
And the basis for that apparently was political. The decision that he was dangerous or potentially dangerous to someone's notion of what this country should be doing, and a further theory that the FBI possessed the ability to enter into this field and to investigate and to intimidate and seek to neutralize and indeed replace a civil rights leader that they thought to be politically unacceptable. Is that correct?
Yes.
Correct. All right. And the tactics they used apparently had no end. Microphonic surveillance of hotel rooms. They included informants. They included sponsoring of letters signed by phony names to relatives and friends and organizers. They involved even plans to replace him with someone else the FBI was to select as a national civil rights leader. Is that correct?
Yes, that plan didn't get very far.
But it
they
was
had their
seriously considered, and Mr. Hoover penned a note to that suggestion commending its authors, did they not?
Yes.
Right. It also included an indirect attempt to persuade the Pope not to see him.
And many other people.
A direct attempt to persuade one of our major universities not to grant him a doctorate degree.
That's correct. After the March on Washington, there was an acceleration. He was defined because of his speech in that demonstration in Washington as the most dangerous and effective leader in the country. And there was a paper battle within the Bureau as to how best to attack him, and he was attacked. After Time magazine named him as Man of the Year, again, the Bureau finds that reprehensible, believes it must attack and destroy. When he was given the Nobel Prize, again, they seek to discredit Dr. King with the persons who welcomed him back from that award. When he began to speak out against the Vietnam War, there's a new crescendo of efforts by the Bureau to discredit and destroy Dr. King.
It is my feeling that the assassination of Dr. King was a part of a conspiracy in the country, and I do believe that some individuals in very high places of our government were involved in this conspiracy. And it is the same conspiracy that eliminated and destroyed President Kennedy, Senator Kennedy, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, and so many other freedom and human rights individuals.
I'm convinced the government was involved at some level. I will never separate the conduct, the attitude of Hoover and the FBI from Dr. King's assassination. I never will do that.
I think one of the most important things that come out in that investigation was that Martin Luther King in Memphis was in a white hotel, and the FBI admitted that they leaked to the press that Dr. King was staying in a white hotel instead of a black hotel, and it was that embarrassment that forced Dr. King to move into the Lorraine Hotel where he was killed.
There are more questions regarding the FBI's role in the assassination of Dr. King. For example, why was Dr. King stripped of his protection just before he was killed in Memphis? Reporter Les Payne and myself interviewed police officer Ed Reddit of the Memphis Police Department, who told how he was mysteriously removed from his security post near Dr. King. However, later, his superior, Chief Holloman, denied doing so.
Why do you feel you were pulled away from your assignment of surveillance that day? Why do you think they pulled you away?
I think because whoever pulled the trigger, I could identify.
When there were complaints from somebody
Did we reduce manpower at the Lorraine? Did we reduce manpower in the area?
No.
The attorneys general in 1965 had for 25 years authorized wiretaps in a fairly widespread fashion. This was just one. At the very most, the only thing I can think of that I would have done, but I didn't even do that, was go talk to Bob Kennedy and ask him about it. But Mr. Katzenbach, in whom I also had great confidence, without giving me the details, said that it was all right, that he had, that there were no, it was not being done anymore, it would not be done anymore, and that there was just nothing to worry about.
I think the issue is the neo-fascist police state mentality that pervaded the intelligence community, that is a danger to America to this day.
Malcolm X was kept under heavy FBI surveillance since he got out of prison back in 1953. As he rose to national prominence as the Black Muslims' chief spokesman, he became aware that he was under close watch.
Our desire, our prayer, that we can have a peaceful, intelligent rally here this afternoon. But at the same time, we see that they have surrounded us with many of their own agents in uniform and out of uniform.
That surveillance escalated into the infiltration of the Nation of Islam. Personal frailties were played upon, jealousy arose, and Malcolm was ultimately ousted from that organization. This caused an intense climate of rivalry that set the stage for Malcolm's assassination in February of 1965.
He was really declared a hypocrite at the time. And because of some of the things that he was saying in regards to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, may God be pleased with him, a strong position was really taken against him. The ministers began to speak out against the things that Malcolm was saying in regards to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, accusations that he had made about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He had accused the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, for instance, of fathering children and etc. And you must understand that at that time, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to the Muslims then, was held in such high reverence as you would even think of any prophet being held in high reverence. And this is the kind of love and admiration that the Muslims at that time had for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So when Minister Malcolm began to say those things, it was taken as an outright lie. I would say that, take for instance, one time in the Muhammad Speaks at that time, the newspaper printed a big article concerning the chief hypocrite. And it actually had a picture of Malcolm's head, rolling or bouncing down the street at that time. And, the way that picture is depicted, he has little horns on his head and things like this here. So indirectly, I would say that a very, very strong position was taken against him.
Yes, he's immoral. You can't take 9 teenage women and seduce them and give them babies and not tell me and then tell me you're moral. You could do it if you admitted you did it and admitted that the babies were yours. I'd shake your hand and call you a man. A good one, too. But anytime you seduce teenage girls and make them be charged with adultery, make them hide your crime, why, you're not even a man, much less a divine man. So, and this is what he did. He took at least 9 that we know about. And I'm not speculating because he told this to me himself. Yes, that's why he wanted me dead, because he knew that as soon as I woke up, I'd tell it.
Plan of action was basically what took place. Me and Leon, we took seats down in the front of the Autobahn. We came early. We would drift into the Autobahn. If indeed there was a search, then we could never enter. There was no search, so we drifted in just like we had hoped to. Leon Davis and myself took seats down front on the left-hand side. Benjamin and William. William, who carried the sort-of shotgun, sat right behind us, you know. And Wilbur sat somewhat in the back or almost in the middle. And our plan was, as soon as the brother came out to speak, that Wilbur would throw the smoke bomb to make a distraction, and that William would fire his shotgun, and that Leon and myself, we would fire our weapons, and then this break for the door.
And when I enter there with you, I bring before you Minister Malcolm, and I pray that you and I will listen, hear, and understand. Thank you. Salam alaikum.
As in Dr. King's assassination, a police superior has trouble with the truth. He tells reporters that 2 suspects were arrested at the Audubon. Later, official police reports say that 1 was arrested. Also, listen closely as the police official carefully handles the question about police on the scene.
We have 2 suspects in custody now.
Where were they arrested? Fired the shot?
I wouldn't know that at this time.
Where were they arrested, sir?
One of these men was arrested on the street by one of our patrolmen close by.
There were no police at this meeting, were there, Inspector?
There were no uniformed policemen assigned inside this ballroom.
No uniformed police on the scene. Does this mean that police out of uniform were there? And if so, why didn't they take action? What were they doing there? This behavior pattern rings a bell of striking similarity with the behavior pattern of the CIA overseas.
The church committee produced cables, demanded and got cables, which proved it traced the CIA's plan to kill Lumumba. Sid Gottlieb got on a plane and went to Leopoldville. Headquarters sent a cable saying, use the poison. Gottlieb was couriering for the poison. Headquarters sent a cable saying, you have to use it promptly because it deteriorates. And they had a plan to try and get it into his toothpaste or give it to him in a Mickey at some social function. And then there's a gap. No cables, no explanation of what happened. Then 5 weeks later, he's beaten to death on an airplane. And unfortunately, though, the airplane was in the control of people who had agency cryptonyms. And the gap of what happened has never been answered. The men who were involved and were responsible obviously aren't speaking out, and there's no paper to prove anything.
So perhaps the same tactics were used against the civil rights movement. Heavy infiltration of the ranks, spread the seeds of dissension, then step back and let the blood spill.
As I see it, Mr. Chairman, is for this committee to be able to figure out how to persuade the people of this country that indeed it did go on. And how shall we ensure that it never happen again? But it will happen repeatedly unless we can bring ourselves to understand and accept that it did go on. And
there was a plainclothes police officer assigned to Malcolm. He was Malcolm's security. He gave Malcolm mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, CPR, with holes in his chest, and which you're not supposed to do. So Malcolm, had somebody around him who was a police officer The chief inspector said there was no uniformed police officers in the Audubon, but there were plainclothes police officers in the Audubon.
And I say that as one who worked as a United States attorney with the Bureau and have enormous respect for its capacities in the field of kidnapping, bank robbery, and a lot of other things. But am appalled to learn what if it's correct, the intelligence side of that Bureau was up to for so long. If we would like,
they should have just dismantled, disbarred the whole Bureau. All the way up to today, they should dismantle the CIA and the FBI.
like to believe that the FBI would do all this viciousness and all of these things to an individual and would stop short of killing him, then we're out of our mind. In America today, if we believe the CIA would deal with foreign assassinations and would not consider it at home, that's like saying the mafia runs crooked gambling tables in South America, but honest ones in America. It just ain't true.
We've seen then how the decade of struggle ended. Many of the prominent figures like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. were assassinated amidst an intense climate of hatred that government agencies were acutely aware of. In fact, the FBI contributed to creating the climate of hate. Moreover, the assassinations themselves appear to have been facilitated by an elaborate network of government.
Now, that is examples of agents. We need to understand what we're talking about when we start calling people agents. And again, if you say something and not be able to prove it, it makes you weak and ineffective. And if you're going to call somebody an agent, you need to be able to prove it, or don't say that. This is The Enemy's Public. I am Bro.Nasir. Like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section. Peace. The Enemy's Public.